Guys, Brett and Brett, you have the sharing or the approval if anyone joins late. Yes.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Okay. All right, everybody. Welcome. My name is Erik Eisenhut. I'm owner and goalkeeper coach here with the United Goalkeeping Alliance. I'm also at Robert Morris University here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm the USYS Region East goalkeeper staff and director of goalkeeping here in PA West. Join with me today, and I'll give them a quick 30 seconds to introduce themselves, is Mr. Paul Blodgett and Mr. Brett Rosenberger. Brett, may I ask you to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. Brett Rosenberger, originally from New York, went to Air Force Academy for college, played professionally in Germany at the second and first division, and then coached in the academies. Then I've been back over in the States, mostly doing coach education and curriculum development for clubs, and along the way, coaching in college and semi-pro and pro, kind of all along the way. So.
Oh, thank you, sir. Welcome. Appreciate your time tonight, Brett. And then the mayor of goalkeeping, Mr. Paul Blodgett, please.
Hey guys, hi, Blodge here. I'm presently the goalkeeper coach, assistant coach at TCNJ Women's Soccer. I've been with them for the last 14 seasons. I'm also director of goalkeeper for boys and girls, ODP and New Jersey Youth Soccer programs. And coached at Rutgers men's program for 20 years. That's what brought me to Jersey. So I didn't actually play. I only played professionally. I didn't start until I was 25, but I didn't have a lot of playing accolades that my fellow cohorts here have. But I've enjoyed the game and had many good opportunities of being able to do what I love to do best, which is work with goalkeepers. So I'm very glad to be a part of the Goalkeeper Alliance, by the way. And we're looking forward to tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Tonight, guys, we're looking for this to be really an engaging conversation to not only speak to the current status of the cultures that we see, but also what exists in your environment. But before we do that, we do want to introduce ourselves in regards to who are we? Like, who is this group of goalkeeper coaches that we've assembled? What are we doing? And why are we ones to speak on this? After we get into that, we'll speak to the current environment. Brett will take it over from there and really get into what the current environment looks like, what the levels are. And that's part of the survey, if you guys are taking or did take that. Then we'll get into what the benefits are to working with the United Goalkeeping Alliance. We do look to create that true goalkeeping culture. We do focus on the 5 areas of goalkeepers development, in addition to much more. And Coach Blodge will be starting there and really asking questions and answering questions based on what it is we do and what it is you might be looking for. We also want you to walk away with an understanding as to how this could differentiate you from your local competitor. And also doing all that while staying in budget. And we'll speak to cost and how that sucker works. But we want to answer all these questions. So if you are scratching your head on something we might have said, by all means, please interrupt and ask whenever you see fit. On the slide here, you're going to see our mission statement and our vision statement. I'm not going to read them word for word, but I am going to just mention a couple things I haven't mentioned. We are an ever-growing group of coaches who are in it for win-win opportunities. And why we're in it for win-win opportunities is because we believe that we're stronger as a unit as opposed to in our individual silos. And especially as goalkeeper coaches, you are in your individual silos, even sometimes in your own academy and in your own club. You're down the other end of the field sometimes, and you rarely work with the other coaches. So we understand that, and we want to kind of break that mold a little bit and bring everyone to their next level. How are we going to do in that? How are we going to do that? We focus a lot on not only win-win opportunities, but we do primarily focus on the education and collaborating and working together and introducing kids to different types of educational guides, whether it's breaking down film, presentations, Q&A, mentorships. And we basically will facilitate those 3 times a month throughout the year. Who are we consist of? What are the people that are a part of this? Who are the people, that are a part of this? Again, you see bullet points there. I'll let you guys kind of browse over that. We're very diverse in regards to who we are, in regards to what we do. But at the same time, if we can help each other, whether we're a new coach and being brought to the academy level or the club level, or being brought up to the respective college level. We want to help each other. And the same holds true for the established experienced goalkeeper coaches. We want them to be able to share their experiences and also help with their businesses, whether it's an academy or selling gloves or whatever that happens to be. I'm just going to exit real quick, guys, and just let someone in here. I just want to thank you. Go right back to this. Sorry about that. And currently we have over 300 members, and we have, of our members, we have 92 UGKA coaches and over 45 or close to 45. We just added some members today, so it's actually closer to 96. And I think our collegiate goalkeeper coaching staff is now in the upper 40s, around 47. We really take great pride in what we do. And the last year at this exact moment, we had 15 coaches and we had around 25 goalkeepers. So just to show you how much we have grown over the last year. In particular, we're also working with New Jersey ODP, working with Alabama ODP, Florida ODP, and we're speaking to others in addition to around 4 other academies or clubs throughout the country. So now that I'd like to turn this over to Coach Brett, where he can get into the current GK environment. And Brett, I'm going to actually look on SurveyMonkey on my phone just to kind of, if when you get to the point about survey results, I can speak to you what those are.
Yeah. Hey, before we get into it, I know we got a couple people on the call. Could everyone just do a quick intro, just say kind of who you are? You know, are you representing a club? Are you representing yourself? You have your own academy. Kind of what's your, I guess, what capacity you're in here today, so we can kind of tailor it more to things that are going to be pertinent to you.
Let's do this then. I'll go through it. Eric Shaw, if you could just quickly go with your where you are and what the where you are from a perspective. Thank you.
From New Jersey, Mars Elite, USL Academy and USL 2 team goalkeeper coach.
Awesome. Jim Harner.
PDA South, ECNL girls goalkeeper coach.
Thank you, sir. Trent.
You want to stay quiet.
Yeah, Trent, if you're there, or let's go forward. PJ.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, PJ Petro. I'm one of the directors up at NJ Crush. Just jumping on here tonight, connected with Paul for a little while yesterday, and figured just hear what you guys have to say. So appreciate the time tonight.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, PJ.
Hey, Paul.
George. George, you're on mute, sir. You see the training dummies in the background.
There we go. The dummies for the dummy. George Mcdermott, settling in Clearwater, Florida area, moved from Philadelphia, 30 years in the industry, on board as a new business development person with West Coast Goalkeeping, working with a few keepers one-on-one down here in the Clearwater area, Florida Celtic, and advisory basis, possibly with Florida Rush, filling out that relationship. So getting the lay of the land down here. Appreciate having me.
Welcome. Absolutely. And Matthew Goldberg.
Hi, Matthew Goldberg. I am a goalkeeper coach at Next Level Soccer Academy in Pennington, New Jersey, and a Hopewell Valley Soccer Association voice coach.
Nice. Thank you. Vanessa.
Hi, I am down in Myrtle Beach, working with Wilmington Hammerheads Club. Just got down here and started with them, as well as small group and individual training.
Nice. Brian.
Hey, Brian Haynes. I'm the goalkeeper coach for New Jersey Crush, along with I work with PJ over there.
Nice.
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Bill.
Hey guys, Bill Bertner. I'm with the Pittsburgh Hotspurs, goalkeeper coach, staff coach there. Also during the summer, I do a lot of work with high school collegiate goalkeepers, 1v1 small group. I have a background mostly in personal training, master's in exercise science. So I do a lot of combination there, fitness type training to go with the technical stuff.
Hey, little Bill. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
Coach Terry, quick introduction, please.
Thank you, Eric. I was hoping I sneak in without you noticing I'm here. But,
I lit up when I saw you come on in.
Well, thank you. I just finished teaching a course, and good evening, everybody. Terry here, Technical Director for POS. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you, guys.
Welcome. Thanks for joining, Coach. Coach Ryan Thompson.
Ryan Thompson here with Lone Star Soccer Club, goalkeeper director here. Also the owner of RTG Academy. Most recently, the head coach for USL Championship Austin Bold, which unfortunately folded this year. So yeah, again, love goalkeeping, live goalkeeping, way of life. Happy to be here, my friends.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you being here, sir. Coach Rick.
Hey guys, sorry, just jumping in on this. How you doing, Eric? Hey everyone. Just introducing ourselves.
Yes, please.
What's happening? Rick Stainton, assistant coach, goalkeeper coach at Georgetown University, senior staff of East Region, ODP, also a business owner here in New Jersey. Obviously a member of this great alliance that Eric had started way back when, and working with a lot of these colleagues have been a great thing. So appreciate all these guys do, and looking forward to meeting the new people on here.
Cool. Thank you, sir. And I believe there's one more left. I don't have a name, but I'm going to be the wise guy and introduce him as Mr. iPad. Nope. Nope. It's okay. All right. We have one mysterious person on the line there, Brett.
Makes it more interesting.
That's right. That's right. Back to you, sir.
All right. So a lot of what we're trying to do is there's a ton of resources that have kind of come together. A lot of like-minded goalkeeping, different views, different experience. But I know from me personally, I've sat in on a number of presentations from other coaches, and I've genuinely been really impressed at the level of knowledge, but ability to communicate that and the ability to communicate that to young, kind of middle age range, and then older kids. So it was something that has really impressed me and kind of compelled me to get a little bit more involved. My experience, probably my greatest trait, is I stole a ton of shit from the Germans when I was over there, as far as how they do things, their methodology, but then also how they work with other clubs, how they work with other programs. And so that was one of my little pieces I could add here. So the one thing that we put out, I know you guys probably went through the survey, or most of you went through the survey. You can kind of see on the screen, Eric, is that picture's up for everybody? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we went through and made kind of a rudimentary levels, and this was kind of based on a little bit of how some of the professional academies were evaluated in Germany, and then we based it and then twisted it around a little bit to make sure it applied to the US. But we basically went through and said, okay, look, we had to establish what level the surrounding clubs in the area were. And then DFB compelled us to try to augment whatever they were capable of with a missing, the missing gap. So if you see all these levels kind of 1 through 10, the simple idea was one club might be at a 6, one club might be at a 3. And it was on us to try to supplement them both to a certain level, whether that was 8, 9, or 10. That could either be established by the federation or by a collective agreement from the club. So we've taken that idea and we've done it here in the US a number of times, and it's worked quite well. So it's always kind of started with, where do you think you are? And my experience has always been, the clubs, you've had average clubs with fantastic keeper coaches. You've had great clubs with average goalkeeper coaches. You've had great clubs with young goalkeeper coaches. So it's been all over the map. And one of the things that where we saw an opportunity was, okay, with the collective resources, we could come in and do a number of things. We could either take some load of work off the staff so that they could redistribute their effort. We could come in and supplement so that we could increase the total offerings. And then at other times we could kind of help clubs develop current staff so that their capacity was greater. So all of the above are kind of on the table. Everything's consistent with the mission of the organization. So that's kind of where we sat down and decided what could we do and put it out there. So instead of talking theoretically, I mean, is anyone willing to kind of share, and it doesn't have to be yours, you all know several other clubs, but you know, where would you say the majority, or maybe Eric, you can kind of at least give us an average of responses. Where were some of the responses coming in at?
Let me read you what I see of these questions, and then I'd like to hear people's comments on this.
Yeah.
So in levels 1, 2, and 3, 25% of all responses came back in that red level.
Okay.
The remaining 75% came in at yellow, 0 in green. How often do your goalkeeper coaches work with your head coaches in your club? 63% came back with just the words "a little." Others were 1 was a great deal, or 10%, moderate, 12. The next question: your goalkeeper coaches coach where? Separate and away from training sessions, 50%. So they're on an individual basis on their own. Goalkeeper training occurs 75% weekly and separate from the teams. Lastly, regarding goalkeeper coaches in your club provides, and I have 63% a GK coach who hosts weekly GK training sessions, and nothing else. So it looks like we're falling in the, based on my numbers, we're falling in the 4 through 6, 4 and 5 session, like in that.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So why don't we do this? Because we've got a, you know, a little bit of a range. What are, because there's a lot of things we could talk about. Does anyone have on your guys' end? Why don't we, let's have you guys kind of drive the conversation. Do you have questions either about the levels, about some of, you know, you're at, but where you'd like to be, some of the things that you think are standing in the way of that? Why don't we just open it up? Because all of you guys have tons of experience, sounds like. George, we'll put you on the spot just because you're a new location. So you've got experience up in Philly, but I know you're starting over. I'm not really starting over again, but I get it. Moving to a new location.
I appreciate it, Brett. I had a detailed meeting today with the ownership of Florida Rush. So a lot of this falls into place. They're looking to get their goalkeeping program to the yellow 4 through 7 right now. They're talking decent numbers, 2,700 actual players, 65 to 90 goalkeepers. The ownership is a somewhat soccer guy, but a businessman. The academy director, Sean Murphy, I know from playing against them in college, we became good friends. The good news is that they identified that they want to be in the 8, 9, 10 level. And I'm pretty excited to get down there and help out. I've been on board with a local club here, quality head coaching on a premiership level. Yet the goalkeeping piece really isn't resonating. So again, first call with you guys I've known of, UGKA, and I'm looking forward to contributing and also seeing what I can learn and take out to our collective.
So you bring up a good point. So one of the things that at least I've seen, this is my observation, so I'm not going to say, you know, it's 100% spot on, but I've been around the country and working with a number of clubs in a number of levels. So I've seen quite a variety, and some things start to become universal. And one of the things is this kind of unheard plea from the goalkeeping staff. And at some point, either it's a director of coaching, a technical director, a board, and it seems to at some level start to kind of fall on deaf ears. So one of the things that we've tried to do, and it doesn't quite sound, George, as deaf ears, but it sounds like it's moving, you know, in that direction, right? So you already are in a much more positive position compared to a lot of clubs I've seen. A lot of them, the leadership has a hard time really understanding the value of the goalkeepers. And so one of the things that we've been able to help do is reframe that question. And so if they're not moved by just the personal drive of, hey, we should be serving these kids as well, which is almost every goalkeeper coach will bring up. There are some more practical reasons that you can sometimes catch their ear and begin to move this needle a bit. One of the ones is looking at it as we used to, when I would present to the board, I would usually tell them another way to look at your goalkeeping program is your revenue insurance program. And what I mean by that is there are a number of teams in every club that are genuinely pretty strong, but maybe have a weak goalkeeper. And so they go out and they're losing more games than what they should. It's not that I don't have a problem with losing and learning and all that kind of stuff, but it changes the experience and it's a bit artificial. And so those teams are at risk because everybody knows I don't have to lose a whole team. I have to lose maybe the top 3 players, top 4 players that get recruited away. And there's really no other position that will have some kids lose hope than a really weak or a differentially weak goalkeeper compared to the rest of the team. Those kids are constantly poachable is what we would call them. And then if you then you'll see the cascade effect. So if the top 3 leave, the next 4 or 5 are at risk. And if the next 4 or 5 are at risk, suddenly the whole team is at risk. So as a club, even if they don't buy into the goalkeeping thing, one of the things we've said is, all right, so there are certain ways you can invest in your goalkeepers, but you need to, even if you don't believe in the goalkeeper, it's simply because you want to, at the minimum, preserve the teams that you have and the revenue streams, which could be, depending on where you're at, could be $40,000 to $80,000 of revenue. So a club, when they're trying to calculate all their commitments to fields, all their commitments, this and that, once again, to the coaches, that's not really the argument, but sometimes to a board member, it is. That's a level where a businessman is going to come in and say, I can't just walk away from $80,000 because I didn't want to invest $1,000, $2,000, $500, whatever it is in the goalkeeping. So it's a way to connect, kind of reframe that question. We've tried to help a lot of boards see it that way and say, all right, so then if you buy into that argument, now the question is, all right, so where can I get the biggest bang for my buck? If I'm going to spend money on the goalkeepers, I believe in that, even just as nothing more than that insurance policy. Great, fantastic. All right, so what are my options? And that's where you start looking at, well, I can invest in a staff, people, put it into salaries. I can go out and get video equipment. I can get jugs machines. I can get all these ranges of things. And you say, where am I going to get my biggest bang for the buck? Well, a lot of times that's back on you guys to help make that determination. And one of the reasons we wanted to have this meeting is we really think that the best use of at least some of that money is going to be looking at a UGKA supplement. And so a lot of this has really become tailored. You have an idea of where your club is, each of you. You have an idea of some of the things that are missing. And sometimes it's just bandwidth, right? You're getting paid X amount and you only have X amount of hours in the day. And so sometimes simply having, tactical classes for kids or technique development or how to connect with college coaches, things like this are stuff that you want to do, is valuable, but because of the limited time that you've got to put your time on the field, either supervising staff or supervising players. So this is where we really see a lot of this coming in. Some of the other things I'm seeing then is how do you move, for example, a lot of you guys that are here, you're all operating in some kind of coaching capacity within your club. So your club already has a sense that we need a goalkeeping coach, that there's value in a goalkeeping, either director or staff. So a lot of times that almost always moves you into one of those yellow categories. And so now the next thing is kind of along that same argument. What if we were able to not only preserve the goalkeepers and the teams that we have? What if we could be the one on the other side of that table for people that don't have that at their existing clubs? And now we could be recruiting, drawing in those more motivated goalkeepers. And there is a bit of a Pied Piper effect. If the top goalkeepers will flow into your clubs, then the same thing that we just discussed could be happening with the other clubs. If they become now a club that doesn't quite have the resources, doesn't quite have the goalkeeping raw material, you'll start to see players flow over. And I'm not a big supporter of just all the recruiting and this and that, but the reality is it is part of the youth game. And for some of the decision makers, these are more the things that are trigger points for them. So us as coaches, we should be about the development of the players, and I'm 100% about that. But This is a little bit of kind of know your audience when you're trying to move the needle for your program. So that's a big part of it. And then, how do we make that leap from say 6 to 8, from 5 to 8? How fast should we do it? A lot of times that's where I found a lot of times when I would work with clubs and someone would say, I'm a 4 and I want to get to an 8. And of course, most people, if they've made that statement, they want to get there yesterday. And a lot of times I'd have to kind of talk them off the high branch and say, look, it's not that you can't do it. You can move from a 4 to an 8, but it is aggressive change at that point. Usually anything more than kind of two notches up the rung is a little bit of an aggressive move, and change is change. So a lot of times I would try and talk a team into a club into a stair step strategy. Let's get from 4 to 6 this year. Let's get from 6 to 8 next year. And that way you don't risk, because there's some side effects that a lot of people don't anticipate. I could alienate a coaching staff because it's too much change. I could alienate head coaches. I could alienate a director of coaching because they have to carve out, sometimes moving to that 8 requires some coordination with the head coaches. So it goes back to Erik's question, how much integrated training. Well, the reality in the US is this, and I'm going to compare it to Europe because that's just where I started. In Europe, all the head coaches, at least at the academy level, were turning in lesson plans for 2 weeks at a time, full microcycles. And so the director of coaching had a little bit of control over the curriculum and the types of training sessions being set up. But then they also had the ability within that discussion to coordinate the goalkeeping coach now integrating into those sessions, both theoretically from a conceptual standpoint, but also practically from a timing and a scheduling standpoint. In the US, the reality is, I'd say my experience is 95% of the clubs, the coaches are really on an island. They have little restrictions or boundaries, even on curriculum. So they can all kind of teach what they want. You look up and down the teams within a club and they don't really resemble, the U12s don't resemble the U17s in any way. Maybe sometimes 2 U16 groups, even in the same age group, don't resemble each other in key concepts, key abilities. And so that really is the result of being out on the island. Well, if they have that little control over some of those implementations, then it's also very hard to implement you into those trainings. Because I really, as a technical director or a DOC, I really have little idea of what team number 14 is doing on Thursday. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're playing, rondos the whole time. I don't know if they're going to shoot and scrimmage. I don't know if they're doing a technical progression. And so it becomes really difficult to integrate you as a coach. So these are the things we can help you with, and not only help you with kind of getting your head wrapped around it, but also help you with the discussions with all of these kind of decision makers. And that's something where I think we add a lot of value. Erik, can you go? Well, wait, before we leave this, does anyone have a question about any of the differences or any of the things that we mentioned in these levels, or anything that maybe you think we missed? Maybe there's something in there that either you're doing or that you want to do that we don't have listed here.
One other I want to add to that question list is, based on the results that I'd read earlier, did those results surprise you?
For me?
Anyone?
You know what? Yeah. For me, no. Based on what I've seen, no.
Brad, I think you're gonna have to either ask people questions or
Yeah. Why don't we throw through it? PJ, we'll just kind of throw people randomly on the spot. Like, kind of, where do you think you are? What are some of the key things as you look at some of these levels that are above you? What are some of the specific things that either that you'd like to add, but either you've tried and didn't work, or you haven't tried yet? Okay, we'll switch. Brian, you're at the top of my picture list. Put you in.
Yeah, no problem. I'll speak for him too. He has a couple of kids, so he might be taking care of them. But
yeah, no worries.
Yeah, for us, we are probably on level 5. I've been a trainer with Crush for the past 2 years, and we just this past fall started implementing more of a goalkeeper specific type of training for them, where it's two times a week. And I try to evaluate them per session just because of the availability of myself as well as them. But we're trying to transition more in the spring and the fall to where it's again about 2 or 3 times a week. But we're going to get me to go into either the sessions and or to games so that they get specific feedback both on sessions, maybe what they could do better, as well as gameplay and things that they did well or things they need to improve on. So we're moving towards a better model towards it. And again, it's I have seen the improvement even just for the one season from them. Just getting that specific training 2 or 3 times a week, it has helped most of our goalkeepers, and we're mostly between the ages of 8 and 12. We usually work with.
Awesome. What are some of the things, like looking on this list? I mean, there's all kinds of things that are, say, above that level, but what are 1 or 2 of the things that specifically jump out at you as far as things you'd like to add?
I would say definitely match observation and feedback. I think that'd be big for them. A lot of the kids are a little bit more visual learners, so we could talk to them, and sometimes they don't really understand or they kind of can't picture it. So I think a lot of the match analysis and observation and feedback, I think, is the best for them. That way you could kind of go back and refer back to him and be like, hey, listen, at so and such a time, this is what you did. Maybe, what could you have done better? And then give your specific feedback on what you saw and how they could be better. That way, again, it's not just coming from you, it's also getting them to kind of think the game a little bit outside of them just playing it and kind of going home.
So and I'll keep digging down the conversation with you, just because it kind of resembles a few conversations I've had with different clubs and organizations. So let me ask a question. Does your club have, a lot of clubs now are starting to invest in, whether it's Vail or, I mean, there's 100, 100 different filming things. Does your club use that right now for matches?
Yeah, we use the I think it's the VO, whatever it's called. We do I don't know how many cameras. I think we have either 1 or 2. I'm not 100% sure on that, but again, it's kind of passed on between each coach, so you have to kind of like first come first serve type of deal to be able to use it. But we do use it and access it both in training sessions as well as matches as well.
So one of the things, to give you an example, one of the things that we've with some of the clubs I've worked with is we've gone through, and if they have some kind of filming thing, right, and the head coaches are pretty busy, but a lot of times you can ask even a parent of that team. All I need, it doesn't have to be the head coach. All I need them to do is assign one person, and there are a bunch of, say, tagging apps. All I need them, and so one of the things where you can start to jump the efficacy of your goalkeeping staff. Can I have you tag? All I got to do is start their timer at the same time the camera starts, and now all they're doing is record. Just hit the button. All they're doing is tapping a button on these things and say tap a button if there's a cross, if there's a goal scored against, if there's a distribution, whatever you want to work on at that time. So now it's a game that you don't have to be at, and they can now cut that clip out, 10 seconds, and send it to you. And to say, here's a couple crosses from our kid today, at our away game. Here's a couple of one-on-ones. And this gives you now an ability to kind of exponentially increase how you're reaching out to these kids, because now you get to see game implementation without actually being there. And it also doesn't put on you the need to go and sit and watch an entire half or a game when really the advice they're looking for is for that 10 seconds. So that one is one that we've seen kind of grow exponentially. And if you don't overburden the coaching staff, even if people just say, hey, look, I tagged 3 times, we got scored on 3 times. I just click the button each time we got scored on. Great. Give it to me. I'll look through it. And if I see something, then I'll give your keeper some specific feedback. And now I also have the clip to send to that keeper.
Yeah.
So little things like that is where, the club's already spent the money on the cameras. So great, let's use them. Let's use them for, and that's one thing that I've seen a lot, is a lot of clubs have these cameras and they film it, but they don't really use them very well. Even the head coaches, sometimes they'll say, well, here's a half, go watch this half. And really, the kids, if you've done this more than once, you realize the kids aren't going to watch anything much more than probably, 15 to 18 seconds. So
Yeah,
you've got
truly.
you've got to really kind of narrow it down. But for a goalkeeping thing, that is something where you could go out and now say, look, we're going to really get out for all these home games, and we're going to get out as a staff, and however we're going to divide that up. But to really increase the reach of what we're doing, we're going to also then go through, say you get 5 emails from 5 teams that just say, here's the time hack, and here's, some video systems can actually give you the clips, some can give you the video, but they'll tell you the time hack. That time hack tells you, I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but I can go to minute 23 and 25 seconds and then watch the goal happen. So that's a huge way we're really leveraging time, and we're still getting that game implementation, which is a lot of where goalkeeping, where the programs are limited. And because same kind of thing, you can only be in so many places at once, and there's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's another system that we've encouraged people to look at if they're willing to invest in that. And now at training, kind of along the same lines, there are little radio receivers that can be clipped onto the back of collars. And one goalkeeping coach could be working with 4 goalkeepers. Let's say they're at practice and either they're scrimmaging, 2 fields side by side. Well, once again, the DOC has to get a little bit involved, but if we can set up certain days as scrimmage days, then you can dedicate your resources on those days to, instead of one coach slowly walking around the field and working with one keeper at a time, you could be sitting kind of in the middle and now basically push the button of either all 4 or one at a time. And I can now be working with 4 goalkeepers at a time in a game without stopping the game. And now, once again, this is now, like, hey, I need you 10 yards up higher. Hey, you're too high. I need you 5 yards deeper. Whatever the coaching advice. Watch the forward moving across the back line. But now you can be talking to the keepers instead of yelling at them from, the goal post, where the typical goalkeeper is trying to scream from the goal post because they don't want to interfere the game. But, the kid is now trying to watch something in front of him, listen to something behind him. And you guys most of you have probably tried it. It has limited effect. And so now you can calmly talk to the kid. He can hear it. And when it's clipped on the back of the collar, it doesn't really affect anything technique wise, and you don't have to worry about breaking the equipment. So little things like this, where suddenly we can help kind of have these conversations with, hey, you really want to improve, the efficiency. Here are some easy and fast ways to do it, and cheap. So these are just to give you some ideas. But those are the kind of things that we'll see. How about who here on the call has a goalkeeping curriculum? And you don't have to share all the secret sauce, but tell us a little bit of how you developed it. Was it already in place and you're just managing it? Did you help develop it? How's that looked on for some of you guys? Vanessa, you guys have one? I know you're kind of new to your club, but
yeah, I've only been there about a month. So no, they do not have one currently. It's definitely something I want to work on and try to implement. And that's a great subject to bring up because I don't exactly know where to start, how to start, and I'd be starting from scratch. And I have my own ideas, but yeah, I'm open to suggestions and ideas for sure.
Well, so to give an example, and there's going to be same thing. You're going to have all versions of this. Some people have written a curriculum. Some people have kind of copied and pasted. Some people have written one, but they'd really like to beef it up. This is where I think places like the UGKA can come in. There's a lot of, I mean, you can tell both, both of us here are kind of the older guys. We got a couple gray hairs here. So there's quite a few coaches in here that have that same experience. And there's even a couple young guys that have some good experience with curriculum development. We can tell you, here are some categories. And then we can help you, instead of giving you, a generic curriculum. A curriculum really should be developed about what's your vision of a goalkeeper position. And then what are your resources? And so, you know, it's not just a, hey, I saw something on US Soccer, so I copied it and this is what we're going to do. Because a lot of times, you know, if that curriculum isn't infiltrating every daily decision, then it's not really a curriculum. And if it's not measurable, it's not really a curriculum. A lot of times I tell people you're a little more familiar with this than you realize, because, you know, think of any school you've been to. You know, if you take math, there's instruction, there's some repetition, there's some level of engagement, and then there's some level of measurement, usually tests, quizzes, that kind of thing. Okay, this is no different. So how do I establish metrics that link to my curriculum? And my curriculum has to be something I believe in, because once again, I can't just go copy it somewhere, because if there's no authenticity, it's going to fall apart. You're not going to integrate it into every daily routine that you're going to do. So that's why it doesn't have to be the best curriculum out there. It has to be the best one that you believe in and can execute, because now you're invested in it. It reflects your value, your vision of the keeper position. And now that's something that you're going to it's going to come much more natural for you to maintain it. You're going to speak much more authentically about it when you're talking with your keepers. And so it's going to permeate. And then, you know, as you grow, you can advance your curriculum if that's the need. But the key thing is keep it authentic. And that's one of the big things that I'll see too many people try that Six Sigma. Well, this is what some top club did, or this is what some club in Europe does, so this is what I'm going to do. And the reality is, you know, they're working with different level kids. They're working with different committed kids. They're with different resources, different number of training days, different level of integration. So it's something maybe they can execute quite easy, but a lot of times, I mean, there's stuff that I could do in Germany that I really couldn't do here. And it's not because I don't have the knowledge to, but I don't have the support network to. It would take 5 times as long to try to do the same thing. So a lot of times you have to modify that. How can we keep moving that needle forward? So yeah, that's another thing that we feel is a resource within the UGKA. Yeah, Eric, go to that next one, the one that's kind of, it's the same one, right? The 2 slides?
No.
Yeah, I mean, they're different.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, then let's leave it here. So here, these are some of the typical things that we've heard from coaches, and this is past experience and then current. Any one of these, just pick one. Does any one of these jump out as an area that is of interest, or is there more than one that's of interest?
The first thing I'd like to interject would be, I think the one that's most important is right at the top, a true goalkeeper culture. And this is something that I have found over all the years that I have been doing this, is that there's very rarely does a club have a culture that is directed towards the goalkeeping position. And I think every club should create a culture that results in a professional attitude towards the position, qualified staff, you know. So a lot of these questions that go into the where do you stand 1 through 10 has to do with the culture. You know, does your team have a culture? Does your team have a respect goalkeepers? Do you have a training area set aside for the goalkeeper? Do you have somebody who is a qualified coach that's just only going to teach them how to do the technical parts of position, but is going to be a mentor to them? You know, if everybody could start developing a culture for goalkeepers and where it's a pride for the club, instead of just something as a part of the club, you know, then you're going to really start seeing results, because it's a difficult position to get people to do it correctly, to get it respected, to have even coaches and DOCs and clubs understand what it's about. So you have to kind of develop that first, I think, or at least start working in that direction. And what's going to happen as a result, if your club is recognized of having a very good goalkeeper culture, people are going to want to go there automatically. And when you get to the retention, recruiting aspect of things, you say, listen, we have this and we have that. We have a goalkeeper specific training area with an 18-yard box, by the way. We train these a certain number of days a week. We have a curriculum set up. We do match analysis. We do video and all that kind of stuff. And we give out evaluations, and we give extra help. We have programs for the kids to do things on their own. All these types of things go over. So as the kids come in there, they say, oh, okay, I guess I just don't have to learn how to keep the ball in the back of the net. There's so much more to it. And, things like getting these kids to, maybe if nothing else, watch the Premier League highlights of the week. They're going to show all the goals that were scored. It might show some of the saves as well. But when they show the goals that were scored, they got 10 cameras now. You can see it from all those different angles. And you could have the kids learn a lot from that and have them come in maybe saying they explain 2 goals that got scored on a certain level on the Premier League goals of the week. Have them to start analyzing. Because one of the things I see is that the kids don't watch the game. And how can you really advance yourself in a position, any position in any game, if you don't watch it and get a star? I want to be like this person. I want to be like that person. That's all part of the thing, but you got to promote that within your club. You can't, as a goalkeeper coach, you can't just come in there and say, okay, this is what we're going to do this week. See ya. And then how'd the game go? You might chat about the game a little bit. Okay. But you got to be consistent with it. You got to be dedicated towards it. And the coaches have to be well prepared. The curriculum thing, I like what Brett was saying. And, but it also has to be dependent upon the age of the kid. What can they handle and that kind of thing. So when you're developing your curriculum, there's certain parameters at certain age group for psychological, physical, and that kind of thing that you got to adhere to. And they're all over the internet. You can find those. And then, so you got to understand that an 8-year-old kid is not going to be able to catch a high ball very well, or you should be teaching an 8-9-year-old kid to go out to do the K-save because they don't know when to use it. Those kinds of things. So it's very, the whole thing, it starts with that's why I like that at the top, a true goalkeeper culture. And now you have to develop that, be dedicated towards it, and you got to sell it. I've been courted by several director of coaching for many clubs around in the state of Jersey. And first thing I sit down, I have a whole thing on a goalkeeper culture, and I give it to them, and they look at it and they go, wow, that's pretty comprehensive, isn't it? I said, well, yeah. How good do you want your goalkeepers to be? And they don't realize what goes into being a goalkeeper and what the goalkeepers need. So if you want to do the best service for your club and your goalkeepers in the club, start developing a culture. Start small, get certain things done, but get the buzz going. And once you get the buzz going, you're going to find a lot of good things will happen. Like I was talking to Erik, I'm at PDA North, and when the COVID came, we were not allowed to coach the goalkeepers because you get goalkeepers from 6 different teams. Well, if one kid got COVID, then 6 teams were shut down. So we were not allowed to do any technical training in groups. So what we did instead, we would go up and observe the coaching their sessions, their training sessions. And then what it turned into, the coaches would start asking us, the goalkeeper coaches, what we thought about in the situation. And then it got to a point where we were contributing quite consistently to their training sessions. And the coaches loved it. And I personally liked it because I got to know the coaches. I got to know their coaching philosophies. And now I could talk to their goalkeepers better because I knew what was going on, where we were coming from. And then at the games, we sat at the games with them. And at halftime, they're always asking us, okay, what do you see? What do you think we need to do? Is there anything changes? So you become, it's almost like being a part of a college team. You're very actively involved with the coaching, the tactics, and integrating a goalkeeper into the program. So that's the goalkeeper culture encompasses everything. And I kind of rattled off a bunch of stuff there, but all of it's important. And you can take any one of these categories here and you can work on it and develop into a goalkeeper culture. So
100%.
Yeah. And another one, if I may say, is the parental thing. I think it's very important to engage the parents and educate them. One thing I always did in my goalkeeper school and everything was I always would bring parents to the side, and I would explain to them sometimes what we did at training session so that they could understand what we were doing. And I always took it upon myself to call the parents if they had problems, if the kids had the problems. I wanted them to come to me. I talked to them. And what would happen is through my parental education, now the parents are driving home with the kid in the car, and maybe they had a bad game. Instead of just saying, hey, well, this is giving your best effort. Now they actually have some type of a intelligent conversation with the kid to help them through it so the kid didn't feel alone. So I think a parental education is very, very important. And that's something you can do with your club. Q&As, like when I was training Karina LeBlanc for the Canadian national team, we would work together in some sessions. And what we did one time is we went out, we had each one of our goalkeepers bring a parent and themselves to a Q&A sessions. Everyone had to bring in a question. And then we had whiteboards, we had video and everything else. And it was a good hour-and-a-half session of Q&A about the game, different situations in the game, whether it was technical, tactical, even mental parts of the game. And afterwards, the kids said thank you, but the parents came up and they said, I did not believe how complex this position is. And I learned so much about this I never knew before. And to me, that was the rewarding part of it. So that's another very important aspect of what you can do as a club, is get the parental education, take the time. Sometimes it's not always pleasant, but if you know what you're doing and the parents will respect you, then they're going to listen to you, and it'll help their kids out.
One of the other things, and I'll just kind of tap in a little bit just on the culture thing. If you guys, I'll give you something to go look up kind of on your own. Go look up the law. It's called the Law of Diffusion of Innovation. I'll say it, Law of Diffusion of Innovation. Go look this up on your own. You'll see different things probably on the internet as it applies to technology, to the adoption of business habits. They're all permutations of an underlying psychology, and the underlying psychology is how do I change a culture? And you'll see some interesting insights. They'll go through and divide the groups into essentially innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. And when you have an insight into this, because this is how things change, you'll realize a lot of times when you've made attempts to make changes, you've been focusing on all the wrong groups. A lot of people try to focus on early majority and late majority because that's where the bulk of the numbers are, and you'll see that if you go do some research on any of it pretty quick. These are not the people that will drive it. Your emphasis has to be on the innovators and on the early adopters, and these are different mentalities, easy to identify, but not necessarily the ones that jump out logically as where you put in 80% of your effort. Because what you'll find out is early and late majorities, they are willing to consider the idea, but they are never going to do it first. So you are never going to convince that until they physically see somebody else having success with it. And then they'll come. Then they'll come pretty quick. Think of it like people that buy cell phones. You can apply it to that. They'll go get the new iPhone after they've seen a couple people using it and they're convinced that it's a good thing. Then they'll jump in pretty quick and go get their own. Unless you're me, who refuses to get iPhone. But the point is it can redirect your energy. And I've seen the same thing, like when you're trying to talk to, let's say, a collective between your technical director, your DOC, and your board. Out of this group of whatever the number is, you may think I really have to keep pitching it to all these people until I can make the needle move. The reality is you probably should have been putting most of your effort into one or two of these people. And the science will tell you there's a critical mass at about 17%, which is kind of early into the early majority phase early. Once you get to that point, you have the momentum, and it's kind of gone over the hill on a critical mass. This will come into play in a lot of parts of your life as a goalkeeping director on how you integrate both with your players, but with your board and people above you. So it'll give you some insights on how to deal with it. That's one thing I'd say. The other thing I'd say is where I see some of the mistakes being made, the intentions are great. And then when you look at kind of the mechanics behind the intentions, this is where we can help, I think, once again. Let's say you have a kid who's making mistakes. And what we would tell the coaches, including head coaches, I'll say, look, coaching doesn't happen by a series of speeches, and even honestly, in a lot of ways, not by practice after practice and your mesocycles and all this kind of stuff. A lot of it is you're going to have these coaching moments along the way, and these coaching moments are about a 2 to 3 second window. And so you have to decide, what are you trying to do? So, for example, if I have a younger goalkeeper, at least for me, and I'll give you my version of it, we're trying to encourage that kid to constantly step outside their comfort zone, because we believe if they constantly step outside their comfort zone, we have the advice that can steer them in the right direction. So we're trying to get them to step outside their comfort zone. So our coaching moment, which you have to prepare for as a coach, is going to be that moment when the kid screws up and gives up a goal. And he's going to look over, and that you have a 2 to 3 second window, because what he sees and hears in that moment is going to completely either support or undo everything you've taught for the last month and a half. Okay. And so you have to decide, yes, they made a mistake. Yes, they should have done this, and you've trained on it. But my important thing, they're not 16, they're not 17, they're not a completed product yet. At that moment, I have a choice. I can criticize the flawed technique, or I can encourage to step outside their comfort zone again. And trust me, these kids are smart. If they see you throw your hands up in the air, or they see mom and dad turn their back and stomp, or whatever. They see kids kind of put their head down, all kinds of stuff. If you don't get control of that, you can undo so much work. And this is something where, at least for me, these are kind of the hidden lessons inside of goalkeeping, because a goalkeeping coach, obviously you can't be at every game. So you have to now educate the head coaches why these coaching moments are so important, especially for goalkeeping. It's true for all players, but it's especially for goalkeeping, because the position is a negative feedback position. You can be nice about it, but the problem is when you make a mistake, it's a goal. When you make a mistake, it can change the outcome of a game. So it's a naturally negative feedback. So how you manage those moments has a lot to do with goalkeeper progress, goalkeeper development, goalkeeper satisfaction, goalkeeper retention, and then subsequently team retention, and so forth and so on. So these are things that, a lot of goalkeeping coaches are really trying to just kind of get a little bit of time to go work on technique, and important, absolutely important. But all these other things, I'm going to tell you, are equally as important, even though they seem like a softer science. So part of it is we can help kind of bring that awareness, even if it's to you or if it's to your club, and help you kind of put it in front of them. And then, like I said, we have experience on how to help you develop that conversation on your end. Our goal here at the end of the day is no one's trying to come in and take over. No one's trying to say this is how it needs to be done. We just believe that we've got a lot of expertise kind of rounded up to help you develop your vision and help you execute your vision, which is always seems to be a little bit outside the time ramifications that you have to operate. So that's really kind of in a nutshell what we think we can do. Erik, I know we've talked a lot and we're getting close. I know people have to pop off. I'll let you kind of wrap it up here.
No, I'll before I get into the differentiator while staying in budget component to it, any questions for Coach Paul or for Coach, excuse me, or for Coach Brett? Any comments? As far as I'm concerned, go ahead, Paul.
No, I just want to make one additional. Great stuff there, Brett, by the way. But I don't know what kind of environments you guys are in your clubs when you train your goalkeepers, but if you're the only person that's coaching, you got 10, 12 kids to be responsible for, and you're trying to teach them how to do proper technique, and you can't constantly observe everyone the way you should, you have to step up and say something. It's part of the culture thing again. You got to earn respect and get the people who have it, or decision-making people, get them to understand it's important. If you want to have a successful, complete team program, you got to have a successful program, because you can't exist without a goalkeeper. And these kids, a lot of these kids come in and don't know what to do, or how to do it. And in a lot of cases, some of the trainers don't either. There's a difference between being a coach and a trainer. But if you are overwhelmed with certain things, don't be afraid to seek help. That's one of the things I love about the Goalkeeper Alliance, and is that number of diverse coaches that we have, and the quality that we have, and the experience is ridiculous. And I've taken part in a couple of sessions in the last year, but what you can learn from these things is tremendously valuable. And it's something that you don't have to put extra stress that you don't have to put on yourself to get done, because we all know how busy we are anyway. And it's a tremendous resource. And there's all sorts of things that can be offered to you and to your club. So I know Erik wants to get and talk a little bit about the membership thing here, but it's really a minimal cost for what you can get out of it, believe me. And I'm a full supporter of the programs, and I'm very glad to be a part of the Alliance, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, Paul, Brett, Erik, I've just been listening, and so it's interesting. So tomorrow I'm going to be meeting with my club to discuss all of this that we guys are talking about right now. And, again, personally, despite the experience that I have, the collectively, the amount of experience everybody have here, we could do great things. It's impossible for me as one person or you as one person to go and take on a lot of uneducated people, when it comes to goalkeeping. And, it's going to take a collective effort, what I'm going to get at. And this already, giving me so much equipment to go, have a educated conversation and, at least get moving the right step of making positive changes and stuff. And a big thing that's really, really, really stood out to me is just a culture piece, man. Culture is everything, especially for us as goalkeeper. The minute, for us, we set that culture in that club, we're just going to breed, quality goalkeepers and human beings over and over. And that's what we want, And again, just thank you for this meeting, just thank you for this presentation. It already helped me, and I'm excited to go talk tomorrow and keep fighting,
That's great. That's one of the reasons I love the name. It's the United Goalkeeper, it's a union, it's an alliance, it's a family, and I tell kids that, because you see when a kid makes a gross mistake in the game and they know they made it, and their head just goes, the tail goes down between their legs. And I go up and tell, hey, listen, don't worry about it. I said, you're part of a goalkeeper union. Every goalkeeper that has ever existed has had bad moments. Every single one of them. There's millions of them around the world. And so when you may have a bad moment, you just realize that you have millions of other people that have had exactly that same feeling. So it's okay. And all of a sudden you see the kids kind of change their attitude a little bit. Said, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good to know. So it's good, Terry. Go get that done, man, because little bits and pieces, man. We get another club to come along, get things right, and then all of a sudden it's just going to keep spreading, and that's what the whole idea is.
100%, and they're a massive club. There's no reason why they shouldn't, and leave that with me to get that done tomorrow.
Cool.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
It's an important conversation. Is that first one?
100%. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Great
you,
stuff,
Ryan.
guys.
I
Great
appreciate
stuff.
you saying that. And honestly, guys, I'm not going to get into, when I present, I don't really go line for line or speak to things, but what's on here is hopefully kind of speaks to, all the benefits that we discussed here and all the benefits that we discussed here. Just quickly take that back in. I can't stare at this slide enough. And I mean that, because everything that you see here, we do 100% all the time. And it's incredibly collaborative. We are a strong group that work together, and we believe we're better as a unit and stronger as a unit than in our individual silos, whether it's curriculum, whether it's building a culture, speaking to the 5 areas of development, not necessarily just the technical session down the end of the other end of the field for an hour a week, but it's more than that. It's speaking to your tactical understanding, your psychological balance, your physical growth, and your social / leadership. And for all this to just be part of everything, you're looking at a pretty cheap cost for a club. and it's priced that way on purpose. You know, we want numbers. We want to get more goalkeeper coaches involved. And for coaches, it's free to join. So we want goalkeeper coaches involved. We do. The more goalkeepers we can have, the more diverse we can be, the more opinions, the more viewpoints we're going to have, and the more we can shape our message in our what we're looking to do from a mission and vision statement to hit everybody, because that is exactly what this is for. With that, I do want.
May I say one thing before you?
Yeah, Flash, go right ahead, man.
Yeah, listen. You know, the cost being $9.99. They say $1,000. You round it off, and all of a sudden they go, people start balking at that. Well, if you have 1,000 kids in your club, and you charge them $1 more, that takes care of it. And then what you would be doing, what the club will be doing for their goalkeepers to establish themselves as people who understand the importance of taking care of the keepers, get the best training they can, get the best resources that they can get. $1 extra a kid. I mean, it makes it's so easy. So I just wanted to say that, because people look at that and that's still not for what is offered. That is like a very, very low number. So I just wanted to say that it's not an insurmountable number by any means. So there's really no reason why any club should not have the opportunity of being able to join.
And I would say, when you guys have your conversations with your board, I would break that math down, because everyone's got different size clubs. Break that math down and say, you know, you can already anticipate that argument and say, look, whether it's $1, 50 cents, $3, $5. I mean, $5 a player on what some of the clubs charge is nothing. Like that needle swings on a pot, you know, for a lot of them. So to say, here's where we could allocate $5, $2, $1. If you can reduce the conversation to that, and especially when tying in how it does affect everybody, not just the goalkeepers, it affects everybody in the to have an improved goalkeeping, you know, set of players, then it becomes a very easy conversation to have.
You guys took all the wind out of my sails. I don't have to say anything. But in all honesty, guys, we're here to help, and we last year, this product started 2 years ago, let's call it, when the pandemic started. And it's been going strong now for almost exactly 2 years. We formed a company because of necessity, meaning we had growth, and it's like, okay, we got to insure this. We have to make sure we're doing the right thing. And then we started putting stuff on social media. And next thing you know, we're a pretty strong union with a really good product, and we're proud of the product. We're proud of the group that we have. We're proud of our results. And now it's, let's get this in front of people and get this out there and share what we have and bring more people in. And 2022 is really going to revolve around growth. And with Paul and Brett, please reach out to them, reach out to myself too. We have a weekly distribution from a newsletter standpoint, which is Goalkeeper Education on the 5 elements of development. In addition to introducing you to what the upcoming topics are. As mentioned earlier, we educate 3 times a month on Sundays. And with your subscription, your club subscription, you're going to get 27 live sessions to participate in. You're also going to get all the past recordings, and you're talking, we started recording these, I think, last December, 14 months ago. So we have close to 50 hours of recorded content, in addition to the additional 27 hours that you're going to be able to participate in. And that's just with one membership, never mind the renewals. It's engaging. It's done that way on purpose. We want our kids talking. We want our kids to speak what they're thinking, and the coaches do a fantastic job with that component. Lastly, I say this all the time because I need you to understand, like I was in corporate finance for 20 years. I've been passionate about goalkeeping my entire life. And to be able to build this, you're not going to see my name anywhere on that website with the exception of in my bio. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the coaches and the union. Everything on our website is organically grown. And what I mean by that is all the camps, all the clinics, all the affiliations and gloves are brought in by the coaches who are part of the United Goalkeeping Alliance. If you're looking for a goalkeeper coach in your area, just find the map, look at the coaches on the map, and you can see not only what states we're located in, you can see the list of 95 plus coaches there. We're here to help you. And I use the line from the Tom Cruise movie all the time. Help me, help us, help you. And if there's any way we can do that, that's what this is all about. And we're bigger. I've said this a few times already. We're stronger as a union than we are in our individual silos.
Eric, the one thing I wanted to add to that is that if you need help in getting some points across to your directors or the people who make your decisions, any one of us will be a resource. You can call us and we'll help. We'll call and talk and get involved. So, we'll help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to be recorded. So if anyone wants the recording to pass along to other people in their club, or if you are having a conversation, we mentioned Ryan was saying to have a conversation tomorrow, it can get tough because especially if you aren't an expert on it, you don't really know what to say. Let us help you, meet with Brett, meet with Paul, bring them into the conversations and help us guide you through that process of onboarding your clubs. We have checklists for the kids and the coaches and the clubs to follow, and parents to understand what it is they need to do to get their kids smoothly onboarded into the United Goalkeeping Alliance. We try to make it as easy as possible for the end user, meaning your 10, 12, 15-year-old goalkeeper. And we also want it to be as impactful as possible. And we feel we've had that accomplished. Guys, before I wrap up, any questions from anyone on the line? Silence is acceptance as far as I'm concerned. Coaches, any last words?
Yeah, I want to thank Jersey for
go right ahead,
I want to thank Jersey for representing tonight. It makes me feel good.
Jersey's in the house for sure.
Coach Brett, any final words, sir?
No, thanks guys for taking the time. I know I have a good appreciation for kind of a lot of positions you're in. I've been up and down the spectrum myself. So, good luck whether you engage the Alliance or not. But good luck either way. You guys are all doing a great job, and it's, the goalkeeper so many times is that isolated position. I've always kind of liked, one thing that I have liked about being in this Alliance is this has been a way to kind of put a team of isolated people together. So it's been a really nice environment.
Awesome. Guys, have an awesome time. Have an awesome week. And if you as a coach, you ever want to get involved, remember it's free. And if you ever need to kind of sweeten the pot with your decision maker and try to get them on for a free week, or let us know. We're always up to those types of things, because once you get your eyes on it and you're part of it, it is hard to walk away. I'm not going to lie to you. Guys, thank you. Have an awesome night. Talk to you guys all soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great stuff, gents.
Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.